Alright, so I'm back, and today we are going to be reviewing Transformers Armada. People have been wanting me to do this one for a little while, and there are parts of this show that I thought were incredible, that I found really enjoyable. Almost throwback to not quite G1, but days of like Beast Wars, Beast Machine kind of thing. Just fun Transformer stuff. But then a lot of it was just garbage, just absolute garbage. I couldn't stand some of this. Most of it, stuff that I couldn't stand, revolved around the kids. Oh my god, those were annoying. They were absolutely irritating beyond comprehensional belief. I hated them with a passion from the first moment they came on the screen. They're whiny, they're bratty, they teamed up with their bullies, and their bullies started going on adventures. One of the bullies kept whining about wanting to eat, and it just got so redundant. It was clear that they were trying to do a running gag with some of these, how they keep going into the same, whiny about this, whiny about that scenario, but it turned into just becoming annoying, and I hated it. Maybe children would like it, but stuff like that was just god awful. I mean, absolutely god awful. I hated the kids. If you haven't seen this show and you're interested in watching it, just know these kids are going to wear you out. Just from watching them, you're just going to sit there and be like, oh my god. There were a number of times where I started like hitting my head on my desk, just like shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Trying to get past those scenes. For the most part, the Transformer part was good. I enjoyed most of it. But the kids ruin it. The kids ruin the show. They ruin the show. Like I said, a lot of people say that this show took a lot of cues from like Pokemon, because you got to catch them all, get all the mini-cons and stuff like that, and I could kind of see that, but honestly it put a different dynamic into the Transformers that hadn't really been there before. Well, I mean, they even kind of hinted at it in season 4 with the Headmasters and Target Masters. That if they have a partner, even if it's a small little partner, it makes them that much more better than everybody else. But essentially, most mini-cons were like Power Masters, where they would plug in and increase the power. So I wouldn't quite say that was a bad part. And the whole show doesn't. I mean, the whole show focuses on mini-cons, that's for sure. But it doesn't focus on capturing them for the most part. Like the first half of the series was like that. The second half of it wasn't quite like that. It had more things going on. And some of it I really appreciated. Some of it I didn't, but some of it I really did. So instead of breaking down each episode, we're going to talk about the characters. So for the Autobots, right off the go, we had Red Alert, who's kind of like the medic. He was basically Ratchet, is what he was. He would stay at the base most of the time, and he would repair things and build things. And when they're at the base repairing stuff, he was in charge essentially. And that was a good dynamic, and I liked it. Then we had Hotshot, who, the best way to describe Hotshot is Hot Rod. You know, a lot of people said similarities between him and Bumblebee. I don't see any similarities between Bumblebee, at least the old Bumblebee, maybe the newer Bumblebee, but not the old Bumblebee. So given that this show took place before the new Bumblebee started coming out, the only one that I could really compare him to would be Hot Rod. He was, cocky, arrogant kid in training, and he eventually became leader of the Autobots, and that was a great little dynamic. He stepped down when Prime came back, like 2 episodes later, but the point remains is that, he became essentially a Optimus Prime type character, and that was a good dynamic. I like that. And then we have Optimus Prime, who's the standard Optimus Prime, heroic, would jump into battle and save the day most of the time. He is who he is. Not really much to go over in that. He was voiced by Optimus Primal, the guy that does Optimus Primal from Beast Wars and Beast Machines. So that was cool. Kudos to them. So that was the first initial crew of Autobots. The first initial crew of Decepticons, we had Cyclonus, who was a bumbling fucking idiot. I hated him. Every time he'd come on and scene, I'd just be sitting there like. But as the show progressed, that was one of those running gags that worked, because as the show progressed, he never changed. His attitude and the way he would talk and act and fight was always the same. But near the end of the series, I actually kind of was like, oh, hey, there's Cyclonus. Awesome. Because they would use him less and less throughout the show. So that worked. Demolisher, not so much. You don't really get a good feel for either him or Cyclonus. They're kind of just there. And, I think it was Thrust who pointed out, this is supposed to be the best Decepticon fighting force. And you got these guys. Yeah, those two, I don't see where they would fit in. I mean, they are complete and total lackeys, lacking any kind of ability or competence. No. Starscream. Starscream was the best character in this show, hands down. He had the most character development outside of Hotshot. And in times more than Hotshot. He had entire episodes revolving around him. There were some Decepticon episodes where there weren't Autobots in it, and it was just him as the main focus. And those were great. I love those episodes. He had his own ambitions. He was trying to be a good second in command to Megatron. There were times where he thought that Megatron was overstepping his authority or causing the Decepticons to lose. So he fought back against Megatron for those reasons. Not just, oh, I want to be leader, and attacked him like G1 Starscream. This one had motivation. And that motivation, turns throughout the series. As you go, he gets more and more motivated to his agendas and his goals and to the Decepticon cause or Transformer cause, because there's a few episodes where he actually became an Autobot and he was actually being a good Autobot, and then he went back to the Decepticons, and in the end Megatron and Optimus were fighting, and he gave his life to show both of them, hey, there's a bigger threat than either of you, and that's Unicron. And he died to show them that, and that's what made Megatron realize, okay, I need to I need to deal with this Unicron threat. So I thought Starscream was the best one. He had the best lines. I think my favorite line from him in the show was he gets reformatted later on after fighting Nemesis Prime. And he gets all blue and highlights of red. And he's just like, he looks around and he's like, I look like Thundercracker. And it was just so funny because it's like, you don't, Thundercracker wasn't in the show ever. So you don't expect him to mention a Transformer that's not in the show. And here he is mentioning a Transformer that's not in the show. And that's what he did. He looked like Thundercracker. And the toy was actually Thundercracker. Labeled Thundercracker, but it was essentially Power Link's Starscream. Then we get Megatron. And he was voiced by the same actor that did Megatron from Beast Wars and Beast Machines. So that was, again, a great thing. I did enjoy that. But the character wasn't nearly what Beast Wars or Beast Machines Megatron was. This is easily the worst Megatron ever. He came up with horrible ideas, horrible plans. His best plans were against his own troops. Everything else, he just kind of sat back and just failed at. It just, he let other people come up with the ideas, and then he'd get pissed off at them for not following through or succeeding at them. And it's just certain things like that. It was just like, but you're in charge, Megatron. Why don't you come up with the plans? And then you can blame your troops for not succeeding in your plans, but you're not doing anything. He wouldn't lift a finger. Sometimes somebody else would come up with a plan and he'd go out with the plan to try and carry it out, but it's not his plan. He's just a trooper. And I think they really undersold the potential of what Megatron truly is in this show. They undersold a lot of characters. So that was them. Then we get Blur, who shows up later on for the Autobots. He was, that badass, ooh, I'm cool kind of guy, character, whatever. There's really nothing to write home about him. Autobots later on got Smokescreen, who again was nothing really to write home about him. He gets beat up real bad. I thought he died. It looked like he died at the end of one episode, and then in the next episode, turns out he was dead. And then they rebuild him as Hoist. And it was just kind of like, okay. It would have been better if he just died. And then they got a new character named Hoist. I didn't think Smokescreen was a very important character either. Let's see. Then they got Sideswipe. That was another annoying character. I hated him. I hated him. Imagine the best way to describe him, if you haven't seen the show, is... Oh, you know what? I'll scratch what I was just thinking of. Just go with Wheelie. That's what I say. He's Wheelie. G1 Wheelie. Annoying, incompetent, and pathetic. I did not like him at all. Jetfire was cool. I actually really did enjoy Jetfire. He was an awesome character. That badass loner. He'd go out and he'd fight Decepticons by himself. He'd come in and he'd save the day, and he was arrogant and cocky, and I like that when you are arrogant and cocky in a show like this, and there's a reason for it. And he would transform into Optimus's pants. Way to go, buddy! You become pants. Let's see. Then there's Sideways, who started off as an Autobot. Excuse me. Started off as an Autobot, betrayed the Autobots, became a Decepticon, worked for the Decepticons for a while, then betrayed the Decepticons, and turns out he was working for Unicron the whole time. I think they really could have found a better character to do that, because I did not like the look, I just didn't like the way he looked. He transformed and he'd have Minicon legs sticking out of his head. It was like, okay, that looks menacing, I guess. Whatever you say. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, so you had him. Then you had Scavenger, who started off working as Decepticons. Well, he started off, watching everybody in that classic anime giant overcoat with the hood up and laughing maniacally from the shadows, like, and it was just like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. His character does get better as the show progresses, but because of his initial showing inside of a giant trench coat and hood, I mean, honestly, it's a fucking Transformer. Why is he wearing a hood and cloak? That is just absolutely asininely ridiculous. I hated that. It was so stupid. It tainted the character for the rest of the series for me. Even though there were scenes where I thought he was doing good, but then I'd remember back to his initial scenes, and I was like, no, he sucks. He's terrible. Ugh. Then there's Thrust, who is supposed to be this brilliant military tactician who won every single battle. They're really trying to take a page out of Obsidian's book here. And it didn't pay off because what they made was a bumbling, whiny bitch. He backed down almost every single time. He'd run away. His plans never worked. Megatron kept giving him command of the Decepticons, and he'd give them all these special weapons and stuff like that. Like, oh, here you go. You're this brilliant tactician. Go lose another battle for me. And it was just like, and then Megatron would take it out on the other Decepticons. It was like, what the fuck? It's Thrust. He's a fucking idiot. And Thrust was trying to build things because of the fact that he was later on started working with Sideways, and then became a disciple of Unicron as well, and his death was so awesome. He got caught in Unicron's gears while he was transforming. Talk about a way to die. You just get caught in somebody's gears. No epic final battle. You just got stuck. Wow. Yeah, it's like that scene in the G1 movie when Starscream gets his foot stuck. Just imagine him not getting out of that and just getting crushed by that wall. It'd be so pathetic. And that's how he died. Which sucks because I really did like Thrust, the toy. That was probably my favorite toy from the line, years and years and years and years ago. But I just, in the show, watching him in the actual show, he was kind of a pathetic, whiny bitch. Then we have Tidal Wave, who was originally called Shockwave in the show because they kept calling him Shockwave, and he was the Decepticon Sea Fleet, all the big boats, and he'd do all this damage and stuff like that. And his first episode, of course, he had a very strong showing, but after that he just kind of didn't do much of anything to anybody. As a matter of fact, most of the times you see him after that, he's being worn by Megatron as armor. And again, I fucking hated that. I really did. I just could not stand. It's like, okay, you got this big badass character, and you're gonna walk around wearing him as armor? And there were scenes when Megatron or Galvatron later on, and he'd be sitting in his throne, planning, and he's still wearing the guy. It's like, how low do you gotta be to be the dude? Like, imagine you join the army, okay? And instead of becoming a trooper or a sergeant or lieutenant, general, or anything like that, you are the general's clothes. That's it. That's your job. You join the army to be clothing. How happy would you be with that position? It was horrible. I hated that. It just... And then there was... the Autobots then later on got Overload. Who originally was called Ultra Magnus, a few episodes. Who never had a speaking line. Never did anything whatsoever. Even though during the transformation you could see that he has his own robot mode. He would never turn into a robot mode. He would be the truck, and he would turn right into the shoulder pads for Optimus Prime. No in between whatsoever. Nothing. He was a nothing character, except for shoulder pads. So you got Tidal Wave, who is Megatron's clothing or armor. You got Jetfire, who turns into Optimus's pants, and you got Overload, who turns into Optimus's shoulder pads. Talk about a waste of fucking characters. Just things like that really kind of piss me off. I mean, I get the whole, Power Links thing. When Optimus and Jetfire first did it a couple times, it was like, okay, this is cool. This works. Because now you got the super form of Optimus Prime with the flight capabilities of Jetfire. That was working. But then it just kind of became standard procedure to go right to that mode. And it just didn't pay off. I don't think it paid off at all. It just no. Let's see. Wheeljack. Now there's a character I did like. He was an Autobot, and he was fighting a battle with Hotshot, got caught in some debris, and Hotshot tried to go back to go get help, but he couldn't make it back. Megatron ended up saving him. Wheeljack blamed Hotshot for leaving him behind. He still has the Autobot logo on his chest, but it's got a big cross out through it, and you see the Decepticon logo right below it. That was a pretty damn good character. I did enjoy that, and he was fun. I like that kind of story where you used to be good and you actually have a legitimate reason for turning bad from your point of view, and you're only seeing from that point of view. You're not bad because somebody reprogrammed you. You're not bad because you just decided it'd be better, but you actually have a legitimate reason to go to the bad guys. They saved you, Autobots didn't. And you hold that grudge. I thought that was a great dynamic. And he was probably in my top 3 favorite characters in the show. So it would go Starscream, Hotshot, and then Wheeljack. Sucks that none of them have really good toys. There were a couple times during the show where I would hop on eBay. It's like, I want to see how much this guy's going for right now. And it's like, oh, that's not a lot at all. So, one of these days I'll probably, once I'm done with the G1 collection, I'll probably start picking up the Armada figures and stuff. Let's see. There was Nemesis Prime, who was just kind of like a drone. It was cool to see a Nemesis Prime that wasn't a recurring character. He was just a one-off character that was just straight up evil Optimus, and that was cool. I did enjoy that. It was fun. It made the whole, like, there's an actual reason why we made these black repaints of Optimus Prime, because there is a character here in Armada. The rest of the black repaints of Optimus Prime, there's no character really to go off of, but this particular one there is. So that was really awesome that they threw him in. Let's see, there's minicons, most of which were of no importance whatsoever. You know, they all ran to try and get the Starsaber, which was 3 minicons put together. Then they all ran to get the Skyboom Shield, which was an annoying name, and I hated how Megatron would say, I need that Skyboom Shield. And then Optimus would say it the same way, I want the Skyboom Shield. And it was just like, stop. You know, if I were a Transformer and somebody was like, hey, why don't you take the Skyboom Shield? I'd be like, I'm not taking that just because I don't want to hear its name. Then there was the Requiem Blaster, and then Thrust tied all 3 of those together to make the Hydra Cannon. Just, yeah, one of those, okay, you know, whatever. Which really was not used very well. I think they shot it once and that was it. No, twice. Once at the Comet and then once to blow up Optimus, which of course, you know, doesn't kill Optimus. He comes back. You know, then we have that big epic battle at the end of the show, which was cool. I was really looking forward to it until they decided, oh yeah, we will take the kids. And then I was like, oh god damn it. Leave them behind. Ugh. What are they gonna fucking do? I could kind of understand why you'd want them around on Earth, because you don't know Earth. You don't know their customs. You don't know what's going on. You need somebody to show you. And for some reason, children seem to be the best way to do it, not adults. I don't know. I don't get that. But whatever. I can kind of see it. But why in the fuck would you bring a human to a war zone on a different planet? What purpose could they possibly serve? They're just going to get smashed. They can't fight Decepticons. You don't give them any kind of suits to do so. Serenity now. Serenity now. And then we get the whole Unicron battle. The build up to Unicron was awesome. Then we get to the actual Unicron and you sit there and go, that was it? Yep, that was it. It was stupid. I did not like it. I mean, you have this... I mean, it was like... Pretty much the entire series was build up to Unicron. And the final fight really was Optimus and Megatron versus Sideways. Powered up Sideways, yes, but Sideways. That's it. Inside of Unicron. And then they defeat him. And Unicron just kind of floats there. Doing nothing. And then Optimus and Megatron start fighting, and then Unicron starts transforming, and then Optimus kills Megatron and then floats off into space. And that's the end of the show. Very weak, anticlimactic ending to a brilliant build-up. I was thoroughly disappointed in that, in Unicron in the end. So, all in all, the show is enjoyable to an extent, minus the children. The children make it terrible. They're easily, so far, the worst humans in Transformers that I've seen. So far. I haven't watched Energon or Cybertron yet. And I will eventually review those. But for the most part, from what I remember of any show, these are the worst of the worst. They don't, no. But the fight scenes with the Transformers are cool. The dynamics of some of the build-up of some of the characters is cool. And you know, sometimes there's parts where I sit there and it's like, okay, this is better than G1. Mostly when we start really getting into the heavy Starscream story arcs and him changing allegiance and stuff like that. It's kind of like, yeah, you sit there and you watch it and it's like, okay, this is where Transformers Prime got the idea of Starscream venturing out on his own and trying to join the Autobots. Only this pays off better. I think. You know, you get a really good character and a really good build-up with Starscream. And the Hotshot, you know, here I went into the show thinking Hotshot was just going to be some annoying little prick. But he actually became a really good character, and I enjoyed watching him. Optimus and Megatron were Optimus and Megatron. Optimus had a better showing than Megatron. And some of the other characters, Wheeljack, Jetfire, stuff like that. They were good characters. They were fun to watch, highly enjoyable. There were some annoying Transformers, Decepticons mostly, and ultimate disappointment at the end. So all in all, I'm going to give the show a 6 out of 10. I think that's a pretty fair rating, because there were times where I was enjoying it, more times than I thought. But there was a lot of downtime of me hating it. And like I said, bashing my head on the counter because I couldn't stand the children. I'm hungry! Die, human. Die. Just die. Anyway. So yeah, Transformers Armada. Eventually I'll buy the Energon series and I'll watch that. And then Cybertron. And then, although I've seen animated, I will buy it and rewatch it before I review it. But this right now, it's not bad. You know, I like to rewatch my Transformers shows. So, you know, it's like G1 is awesome, Beast Wars is awesome, Beast Machines is awesome, Prime is awesome. But every now and then, you need something that's not quite so epic. So, throw on one of these. I do think this is better than Age of Extinction. I'll watch this over Age of Extinction any day of the week now. Just saying. It is.